plants. I thought I'd just give y'all a little walkabout. It's such a beautiful morning and it's not too hot yet, so I thought I'd do a little walkabout and show y'all updates of my garden and my flowers and those type things. So this is my porch. I really didn't show y'all a good picture of my porch the last garden tour I did. These are those begonias that I cut off and propagated and showed y'all how to do that in my greenhouse. And you look at that begonia. How pretty. Look at all the blooms on it. These are the spider plants in one of my garden tours that I had done, and they looked horrible. And look how healthy and stuff they look now. That's a new plant right here that I got from a friend of mine in my garden club. It's called Queen's Tears. And I'm really excited about that. It's putting on some new shoots. It hadn't bloomed or anything, but I'm excited about it. Look at that little sign. I got that like a little dollar store or something, but I just love it. It's so cute. My beautiful picture of our pond. We have a fountain in the pond, but and it's going off, but it just goes off every once in a while. My husband has it on a timer on his pump system. So I wish it was going off. I'd show y'all the fountain in the pond. That's a new plant that I also got from a friend in my garden club. It's called the goldfish plant. I'm ready for it to bloom too. I'm excited about that one. I love new plants. These are my spider plants. This is just awesome. Succulent right there. Probably wondering what that is. That is an old cast iron skillet. It was all rusted, and I put sand in it so that any people that come and smoke, they have a place to put their cigarettes on my porch. We don't smoke, but we have a few family members or friends that might. So this plant right here is called the desert rose plant. There's a lady that I watch her YouTube channel. It's called Maria's Garden down in Punta Gorda, Florida. She is hilarious. I love watching her, but she grows desert roses. And I had gotten this plant. Actually, I tell you what, I got a desert rose one time and I killed it because I watered it too much. And it just rotted. And these plants are kind of finicky. Well, I found another one last year at Lowe's, and it was a small plant. These get really big, and I nearly killed it again. But through her channel, I knew what to do to save this plant. See that spot right there? That was just mush and just rotting, because if you water these too bad, they will get mushy. Well, luckily I caught it in time and I was able to save it. And I had, through her channel, I had learned what to do. You had to scrape out the inside of that plant till you find a, kind of a hard part of the plant. And then I sprinkled cinnamon on it. And I did not water that plant. I didn't water it all winter. I didn't do anything to it. And I was a little leery about watering it this spring. But it has dried out. It's hard. It's recovering. That used to be a lot bigger, so it's closing in on itself. It's kind of like a tree that'll heal itself. So I've saved it, but it was through her YouTube channel that I learned what to do to save it. And then I was so excited when I saw it having some leaves come out on it, and then I'm actually getting blooms. I'm just so excited, and I have to really watch myself to not water this plant too much. It's kind of the base of this plant is kind of like a hard potato. And when that's real hard, it's got water, it's storing water in that plant. and when it kind of gets a little dried up looking, then it's dehydrated, it needs some water. But then you can go too far and that gets kind of soft and mushy. I was excited that I was able to save that plant. I want to show y'all my new little box. I got that at a thrift store and it was so cute. It was just untreated, and I had my son spray it with a good shellac coating over it to save it, to preserve it, because I knew I wanted to put a plant in it. But isn't that cute, just sitting on my table? I just love it. All right, so now we're going to walk out here to what we call the postage stamp garden. We added some more mulch to this week. My husband got the tractor out. We had gotten a load of mulch dropped from our city. You hear my air conditioner going, and the people, there's a subdivision off to the right back here behind us, and they're doing some lawn service over there, so it's a little loud. But look at my tomato plants. I need to pick some tomatoes. Ready to pick some tomatoes, I'm glad. Look at those pretty plants. My geranium is blooming. These are the geraniums I propagated in my greenhouse, and look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful. And I overwinter these asparagus ferns. Chicken. There's my girls. Oh, I'm so excited about this hibiscus. Let me show y'all this. This hibiscus, last year it looked horrible, and I don't think it even put on a bloom last year, and I almost threw it away. But when I put it up for fall, I said, when I get this out this spring, I've got to repot this plant. And so I repotted it this year, gave it a good douse of some good fertilizer, new compost, all that kind of stuff, and I'm having some blooms. Look, I've got some hibiscus blooms. I've had this hibiscus plant, I can't even tell you how many years I've had this thing. But look, I've actually got some blooms and stuff right there. So I'm really excited about that, y'all. I love saving plants. I don't know, I guess it's the nurse in me. I just love saving plants. More geraniums that I had propagated from my plants. You see how big and pretty and full they are? Just want to show y'all that the things that I'm doing really do work. They think they're going to get a treat. We will. I've got some scraps in there in the kitchen I'm going to bring out later. So I'm going to try to walk and not bounce too much. Got bad hips, so my hips don't work like everybody else's hips. That is my cucumbers. We've gotten a couple of cucumbers off of that already, but they're really starting to come on. And we need to mow. And my green beans, I've had 2 pickings off of my green beans already, so that's been good. These are all of our pepper plants, and they've all got some blooms on them. And I even have a plant down here that's got some peppers. That is a Tabasco pepper. All these pepper plants I grew from seed. I'm having a rough time with my zucchini plants. I had to pull 2 of them up. They just weren't looking too good. I don't know if the squash vine borers had already got them. So I've got 2 pots here that I've got to get repotted. That's the good thing about squash. You can replant pretty easily and they come back up. Looks like my oregano is gone to flower, so that's pretty. And there's my sage. My basil has flowered. I've already cut off a lot of this off already and dehydrated it and put it in my store for my storage, my pantry. These are my squash. I don't know what's going on. I think I've got squash vine borers. I haven't seen squash bugs, which is unusual because usually you can get some squash bugs. So I've been happy with that. So we'll see. It may just be the heat. All right. All you people, these are my peas. These are purple hull peas. You people up north may not know about purple hull peas, but that's what we love in the South. And I am going to have a mess of peas. When those start turning purple, we be picking some peas. I am so excited to have those peas. More tomatoes. We picked them last night, so I don't have any ripe on here. Look at all those peas. I am so excited. I'm going to have peas. Look how big. Those are going to be some nice peas right there. All my flowers in my flower bed are really doing pretty. My bee balm was just falling over, so we had to rig up a little trellis. And these are just usually covered up with the bees. They usually are just everywhere over here. Y'all saw that one picture of that moth that looked like a bee that I put on Facebook. All the bees. They're just going crazy. They love this stuff. They're everywhere. All my I've got little honeybees. See my little honeybee? My new friends that I have, we're hosting on our homestead. All these little, and then bumblebees. Tons of bumblebees. They love it. I highly recommend bee balm to anybody. Okay, my parsley's coming along. When I Lad finally figured out that wasn't a weed, and I told him to stop pulling it. I had to replant my parsley 3 times. And I saw him one day, he was about to pull it out. I said, don't. It's like, what? That's a weed. I said, no, it's not. It's my parsley. Stop pulling it out. Green beans, like I say, I've picked them 3 times, and I'll have probably at least a 4th picking of my green beans. I'm excited about that. More tomatoes. My poor squash. But see, I just want y'all to see, not everybody's garden is just perfect. You can have some things not turn out like you want them. It'll be all right. You'll survive. Oh, look. All right, so the squirrels were stealing our tomatoes, green tomatoes. And we had seen that if you get snakes, plastic snakes, and drape them around your tomato plants, that you won't have squirrels. And I will say, y'all, this has worked. So we raided my little grandson's toy box of all his snakes. Look, there's one right there, 1, 2, 3. Look at this cobra. It looks so real. It might scare you if you come around here. And then there's another one right here. But we try that. If your squirrels are getting all your tomatoes, try that. See if it'll work for you. More of my Swiss chard. Believe it or not, the Swiss chard is still putting on. I thought it would be done by now. It kind of gets in the shade in the afternoon, so it gets out of that heat. So I think that's what's helped it linger on a little longer. My porch. We sit over here all the time, y'all. This is just so relaxing, our little porch. We love this porch. My husband, when he was spreading out the wood chips yesterday, he spread this out over here, and it looks so much better. Looks awesome. More of my begonias that I had cut back, and they just look like little sticks hanging out, and look how pretty they look now. Watering my geraniums. These usually are up on the hooks out there, but I had watered them yesterday and I haven't got them back up on their hooks. But this is my rain catchment system. I like it because of my porch. It's kind of, it raises everything up a little bit, so it makes it easier for me to you know, handle things and do things like that. My compost pile. We're going to try to scratch out a little bit of compost out of there today to fill up one of my beds here. It's the first year for the bed, and it had really composted down when I pulled out all my onions. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I'll show you all that. Here's the wood chips that got dropped off. We have been using from our city. They're not perfect. Sometimes they have sticks in there, but we just weed it out. My bees are down there. My roses are about to rebloom, and I'm so excited about that. I showed y'all that it had bloomed earlier. But look at all those blooms that are fixing to pop. This is called Pinata. It has orange and yellow and red, and just a beautiful rose bush. My dahlias are still popping. I deheaded this just yesterday. Look at there. Candlestick or popswarm plants I started from seed. The flower on it's yellow. It looks like either like little popcorn, or some people say it looks like a little candle. That's where it gets its name. So that's really coming along. And the bees will love that too when that starts flowering. Here's my asparagus. They are doing wonderful. This will be the second or third year for my asparagus, so I haven't ever harvested anything from them. I'm just letting them get established. We moved them over here last year. We retransplanted them. The ones in the back are ones that I did from crowns, and then these ones that are here in front are ones that I started from seed myself. So they're a little smaller, but they're also a year behind. So, but look, they're coming on. You don't just have to have crowns. You can actually grow them from seed. They're not quite as big, but look how well they're doing. Really excited about that. Rose of Sharon, a friend of mine propagated this for me, and I potted it in this pot because I'm going to eventually plant it, but I wanted it to be kind of protected for a little bit. This flower bed is the one that I had sprinkled some seeds and stuff in, so I'm starting to get some things coming up. My cosmos is getting big. It's gonna bloom. Of course, my lantana came back from last year. Y'all, this lantana, Lowe's, has a clearance aisle, and I had picked it up on the clearance aisle. They were about half dead. I came home and I let them sit in Miracle-Gro for about 2 days. And then I planted them. And those things have just done awesome. This is the 2nd year. Of course, they're probably 3 times the size as they were when I brought them home, maybe 4. But look how good they're doing. So you can garden on a budget. I'll call it gardening on the cheap, and that's the way I do it. But look, I've got like a little zinnia back there blooming. It looks like another one's gonna bloom. My coxcomb is coming on. My rose bush my friends gave me is reblooming. I'm excited about that. That Rose of Sharon over there is pink, and this Rose of Sharon is purple. And I didn't really know much about them. I almost planted this one too close to my house. But it is doing well. My potatoes are about ready to dig up, but we're gonna leave them a little while longer. I pulled 2 of them, but I pulled them too early, and they were just a little bitty, like little new potatoes. That is right here, lemon balm. A friend dug that up for me, and I transplanted it like day before yesterday. So it's kind of looking a little peaked. All right, this is the flower bed I was talking about that I had my onions in. When I planted my onions, this flower bed was full to the top with compost. But see, that's what happens when you have a compost bed. Look how much that bed, the compost has continued to compost down. And look, some of it I'm a whole board length lower than it had been. So I've got to fill this back up. So there is some good compost. I didn't know if I'd have any compost out of my compost pile because we had used pretty much all of it. And look, this is just the first wheelbarrow full of compost out of my compost pile. Look at that black, rich dirt. Soil, I should say. I took a master gardening class. There is no such thing as dirt, it's soil. That was one of the guys that taught us about soil and stuff. He did not like us to say dirt. We'd get in trouble if we said dirt. So this is my soil of my compost pile. Isn't it wonderful? So I'm gonna dump this in here. It's probably gonna take 2 or 3 more loads. So let me get to work. All right, so that's 4 wheelbarrow loads of compost that has just filled about half of this bed. So I still have to fill up the end of this bed. That's a few little random peppers I stuck in there this year that I had to stick just around the holes where I had some holes in my onions. So that's kind of why they're in weird places. So look at that rich compost material. Best thing you could ever do is to start composting. I cannot encourage y'all enough to start composting. And don't listen to the videos on YouTube that make this so complicated. All I do is save up my leaves, save up my chicken manure that I clean out when I clean out my chicken coop, save any materials, like when I chopped up the heads of my garlic, chopped up the heads of my onions, anything like that, and I just stick it in my compost pile and it sits there, and the Mother Nature does what she does to it and makes this rich compost. I don't have very many scraps because we feed the scraps to our chickens, but then the chicken manure ends up in our compost. So I cannot tell y'all enough. This would have cost me 4 wheelbarrows full of compost. It's like a bag of compost. That would have cost me, even on sale, would be about $9 a bag. So I just saved $40 by filling up and composting and filling up this bed with compost. And I'll save another $40 on the other end. So I've saved $80 today just by composting. And I guarantee you this is 100 times better than what you get in the store. So if I can't tell y'all anything else, compost, 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 please start a compost pile. Big, little, small, doesn't matter. Start a compost pile. Best thing you've ever done to your garden. This is just like black gold. All right, so we got all this bed finished. My husband came up and helped me get the last 3 loads in. It took me 4 loads of compost on this end and about 3.5 loads on the other end. So my husband came and helped me get this little job completed for today. Well, my daylilies have been blooming. That's good. Little flower's been blooming, and my cannas are fixing to be blooming. Some of them have already been blooming. And my cannas are all abloom. When I got these, there was a house next door to us that they moved, and it had cannas all along one side, and I went over there and dug these up and transplanted them. But they were really infested with leaf roller bugs, and I've really worked hard at getting rid of those as naturally as I can. And the way I've just been doing that is really cutting these down in the winter so that those can't sit there and harbor in those and be ready to, you know, be in them in the springtime. And this year has been the first year that I've not had leaf rollers. And a leaf roller is a bug that'll just be inside that stem as the leaf comes out, and it won't let the leaf unfurl, and so they'll be real chewed up and torn up. And so I'm really happy that I didn't have to resort to anything else to get rid of these leaf rollers, and that these are coming along. And we had some crepe myrtles in here that had disease, and I've got a crepe myrtle coming up voluntarily that I will move. And my grandson and I were weeding weeds, and he just threw the weeds up back there behind the things. I've got to get up there and get those off, and my son is gonna weed eat for me. But I've planted these plants back here in the back to try to fill this in, and I've got a few more over there that I need to move from a spot, and I'll just about have these cannas all going down this row, so that's good. My irises that I filled in were there was another crepe myrtle here. It was a lot bigger area, so that's gotten pretty much filled in. And look at my mandevilla, is still a blooming. It loves it here. Like I say, this is what you see when you drive down my driveway. These are the ferns in my front porch, real shaded area, so they love this area here. And this little container just keeps on going. It's like a little engine that could, just keeps on going. It's a little, the sweet potato vine's a little because of the heat, but it's doing well. It's a little wilty, but just keeps on going. This was the pot that I propagated the wandering Jew in here, and I propagated the geranium that's in here, and stored it in my greenhouse for the winter. And this is it just came back this full. Welcome to the farm. I just love that little planter.